Moshiach. We talk a lot about Moshiach. Why do we want Moshiach to come? Does the coming of Moshiach mean that the world will be enlightened? Everybody's going to want to do the right thing. What's going to be with our freedom of choice? Are we still going to be able to choose, or are we going to become mindless lemmings? My daughter asked me this question.
We will choose right.
Kasha v'maisa. Which means a difference. No, but seriously, guys, seriously. Rob, how do you feel about this?
I can't wait for Moshiach.
Why can't you wait for Moshiach?
Because then I can have a cheeseburger.
This is your aspiration in life, is to have a cheeseburger?
I've never had a cheeseburger in my life.
This is your aspiration to have a cheeseburger.
You know what? I'm like, remember the
Talk about anticlimactic.
Wait. Remember the short story I gave?
Bunif something.
About the guy who had a very simple life his whole life.
Yeah.
And he goes to heaven, and the angels say, you can have whatever you want. Whatever you want. And he says, okay, I'll take
a sandwich.
I'll have a sandwich. That's right. I'll have a sandwich. And they said, a bun of the nar or whatever.
The fool, yeah.
They said, of all the things you could have, that's what it is. Aspire higher.
I'm hungry.
Choose one.
You know, I haven't eaten since before the funeral.
Let's take a look at what the Parsha has to tell us this week on page 808. It's a pretty intense Parsha here. This week's Parsha is talking about, good morning to our friends online, Fran and Stacy, Andrew and Corey and Chuck and everybody else that's watching online. Apologies about the live feed here. Yesterday, apparently it jammed out. It was a really awesome discussion, so apologies for that breakdown. But today we're talking about Moshiach, we're talking about redemption, we're talking about why would we want redemption? Isn't life beautiful the way it is? No. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. Let's take a look at what the Parsha has to tell us on page 808 about this redemption. It starts off talking about a long litany of curses. So much so that there's only two places in the Torah that has such horrific curses. You know, when there's somebody in the show that you particularly don't like, no, I'm joking. You don't honor anybody with this aliyah. Yeah, I'm called out for the curses. No, we don't do that to anybody. Saying, comes home and tells his wife, you know what they did to me in show today? So here goes. This aliyah starts off with a lot of curses, but it ends off a little warmer. It's on page 808, verse 42. Goes like this. And I'll remember, I'm just translating the direct verse. 808, 809, verse 42. Let's do it on 809, verse 42. Since as stated, they will still not have repented fully, I will have to invoke the merits of their forebears in order to redeem them. I will remember first my covenant with Jacob, who foresaw the exile and took pains to ensure that you would be redeemed. It is true that he accrued the least merit of all the forefathers, since he did not have to oppose the influences of his milieu as he did. But since all of his children became progenitors of the Jewish people, remember the 12 tribes, whereas not all of Abraham's and Isaac's children did. Remember, Abraham's son was Ishmael, and Isaac's son was Esau. But yet Yaakov was the only one who had all of his children follow in his footsteps. His merit should be invoked first in order that it be channeled specifically to your aid. If his merit proves insufficient to redeem the Jewish people at the end of exile, at the end of Golus, before the coming of Moshiach, I will also add to his merit my covenant with Isaac, the memory of whose binding as a sacrifice is in any case always in front of my consciousness, as Abraham requested. If their combined merit proves insufficient at the end of the exile after October 7th, I will also remember my covenant with Abraham and add to his merit to theirs. I will also remember the empty, desolate, promised land. Ooh, the empty, desolate, promised land. What's going on in Israel right now? The south is desolate, the north is desolate. For as mentioned previously, the land will have been forsaken by them in order to thereby appease me over its unobserved sabbatical years by being devoid of them. In Israel, there's a Shemitah, the sabbatical year. And there are many farmers in Israel that are very meticulous to shut down their fields, their agricultural farms. And last year was the Shemitah year. Was it last year? 2 years or 2 years ago? 2 years ago was the Shemitah year, and they're very careful to observe the sabbatical year. But the Torah promises us, you don't observe the sabbatical year, you're toast. You're toast. That's what the Torah tells us in these curses. Tragically, there are several farms in Israel that don't observe the Shemitah.
I've told you this before. There are articles that follow the stock market since 1900. And in every Shemitah year, the market has gone down significantly. The crash of 29, the high-tech bubble.
So you want to buy options before Shemitah and bet and hedge against the market. Puts, naked puts.
Puts, I think.
Okay, good. Well, very good. It's interesting, right? That's interesting. But by the way, it says it's not the Shemitah that causes the down market. It's the unobservance of the sabbatical year, right? Okay. So, for as mentioned previously, the land will be forsaken by them in order to thereby appease me over its unobserved sabbatical laws by being devoid of them. What that means is if you don't observe the sabbatical year, which shows your courage the courage of your conviction, the courage of your faith in God to say that my money comes from God, not from my clients, right? If you can't do that, then you don't deserve to live in the land, and I'll send you an enemy that will drive you out of the land. This is a promise in the Torah, so it's eerie. Through this too, they will appease me for their iniquity. This was all in retribution for the many sins as mentioned above, but only in retribution for their having despised my ordinances and for having rejected my rules. I exacted no retribution for their having rejected me. For despite doing all this to them while they are in the land of the enemies, I will nevertheless neither despise nor reject them, i.e. proceed to annihilate them, thereby breaking my covenant with them. For I am God, their God, I can be relied upon to keep my promise. In other words, times will get rough, but you won't. Not eliminated, exactly. Therefore, ultimately, I will remember for the benefit the covenant I made with their forebears, whom I took from Egypt in sight of all the nations to be a God. For them, I am God, their God. And this concludes the curses, the contents of the book of Leviticus up to this point of the rules, ordinances, and 808 and laws, both written and oral, that God gave between himself and the Israelites at the foot of Mount Sinai through Moses. The following laws, in contrast, equally apply to Jews and non-Jews. So what happens here is that we have a veiled reference to the future redemption, where God says, listen, times are going to get really, really rough in the back end here. You're going to walk away from the observances of the Torah. Things are going to get nasty, but I promise you I won't destroy you. This will be a retribution for having rejected my commandments. But ultimately, I will remember the covenant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and you will be redeemed. We will experience the coming of the Moshiach. Again, it's a veiled reference. It's not a very explicit reference, but it is a promise of a better future, promising us that our best days lie ahead of us. Now, my question to you is, folks, why do we want the redemption? If we live today in a world where we have freedom of choice, you can do whatever you want. And my daughter tells me, she says, Tati, tell me, why do we want Moshiach? Now I can do whatever I want, but when Moshiach comes, are we going to have freedom of choice? Everyone's going to want to do the right thing. Everybody's going to be a goody two-shoes. And who wants to be a goody two-shoes? You ever heard of that expression?
Sure.
Marty? You even know what that is?
I've never been.
Oh, it looks like there's somebody at the door from the inspector's office.
Don't let
Yeah, I think they want to inspect our permits in the backyard. And by the way, today's Torah study is sponsored by Andy and Hannah Siegelstein in loving memory of Andy's mother, Shoshi Miriam Bas Shlomo, on the occasion of a yard site and in elevation of her soul. So the question is, why would we want the coming of Mashiach? And here's what I say. So imagine you're grappling in the darkness. Good morning, folks. Are you with the inspector's office? Thank you. Are you able to go? You need our help? I think the permit is on the door of the shed. I think it might be there. I think. Not sure. Thank you. Hope for the best. Okay.
Close the door. You want the bugs coming in.
Oh, the flies will come in.
So
Close the door. Just
I just want to point it out this way. I explained to my daughter that today we live in a time of great hate and darkness. And we're constantly verklempt with anti-Semitism. Think about it. You know, our generation will go down in history as the generation that couldn't care less. Think about it. Past 75 years, we've had all of these Holocaust memorial events. Never again. We will never remain silent again. And the nations and countries and organizations pledged never to remain silent. And we were wondering, where were the organizations and the countries of the world during the Holocaust? Well, they didn't really know. And that's why they didn't stand up to. They didn't really know. And that's the reason why they didn't stand up to Hitler and the Holocaust, why they remained silent. Today, that's no excuse. Today, everybody knows what happened on October 7th. And everybody knows that whoever marches for pro-Palestine or for recognizing Palestine or gifting a Palestine state or standing for Hamas is standing for rape, is standing for murder, is standing for ISIS, for Al-Qaeda is standing up for hate, is standing against civilization and modernity and democracy, is standing in favor of totalitarian hatred and dictatorship. And what's interesting is that this generation, the women's rights groups have lost all credibility because they only stand up for the rights of women as long as they're not Jewish women. And the rights of children groups they only care about children as long as they're not Jewish children, right? It's shameless anti-Semitism. So this is a world of great darkness and confusion. But with the coming of Moshiach, the lights will be turned on, and then everybody will see the light. Instead of there being hate, instead of us having to dedicate our lives to going to the army in order to fight against hate, you know what you're going to do with your life? You're going to say, oh, well, nobody hates me anymore. So now I can really do what I want with my life. And now I can choose which way I want to live my life without having to play whack-a-mole with all the haters, right? I gave my daughter an example of being in a dark room. See, in a dark room, you don't know the difference between a broomstick and a door handle, right? Okay, so you have freedom of choice. Wonderful. You can decide to pull a broomstick or pull a door handle. Great. But imagine somebody turns the light on and then you say, oh, now I don't have freedom of choice. Because now I know where the door handle is. I don't know where the broomstick is. And I know where the window is. And I know where the garbage bin is. No, not that you don't have freedom of choice. Now you can actually start living and say, well, do I want to take a nap? Do I want to read a book? Do I want to take a walk? Do I want to eat? Now you've got real freedom of choice. I gave another example of driving down the highway. Imagine on the highway, everybody was allowed to do whatever they wanted. Imagine there were no lanes. You could do whatever you want. Champs-Élysées. Have you ever been to Champs-Élysées? It's a traumatic experience. Cars, I don't know what those French people are doing, but the cars are moving in every different direction. It's pretty intense. It's about 16 lanes wide, and they're moving in all directions. Don't know how anybody survives that. But when you stay in your lane, when you follow the rules, well, you've lost your freedom of choice, right? Because you can only go this way on this road. And if you don't go this way, you're going to get a ticket. You can lose your license. Does that mean you've lost your freedom of choice? No! What it means is that now you can decide, do I want to go to visit my mother? Do I want to go to the ball game? Do I want to go to a movie? Do I want to go to the Chabad house? Now you can really choose, because now you know that instead of worrying about if you're going to arrive alive, now you're like, okay, I know I'm going to arrive alive. I just need to know where I want to go. So the coming of the Moshiach is the illumination of our consciousness, of all of mankind. So instead of a Hamas, instead of an Arab seeing the Jews and saying, I hate them, I want to kill them. No, they'll see a piece of God and say, wow, that's beautiful. Can you imagine Arabs and Jews living, coexisting in peace? I was in Jerusalem several weeks ago, and we were at a hotel, and this Arab baker was so nice and peaceful. He was, making special presentations for my wife and I. He was like making little, whatever he was making. It was really beautiful. It was a peaceful coexistence, right? I was in a cab with an Arab taxi driver, and we were talking about it. He lives in Hebron, in Judea and Samaria. And he was saying to us, we don't want to live in Palestine. Palestine. We don't live in Palestine. We want to live in Israel. Because in Israel, we have more rights than in Palestine. In Palestine, it's a terrorist state. I asked him, can I take it on video? He says, no, they kill me. So he said to me, no, they kill me.
But they made a choice to live that way.
Right. Point is, my friends, with the coming of the Moshiach, our eyes will be opened and illuminated. With the coming of Moshiach, we will be inspired and aroused to be able to live our best life, not a life of servitude, right? So right now, you're worrying, you're running from doctor to doctor, you're worrying about political event to other political event, you're having you're exposing anti-Semites, you're shaming and naming anti-Semites. That's not freedom of choice. That's a life of trauma. With the coming of Moshiach, all that trauma will be removed. There'll just be consciousness. And when there's consciousness, there's no more jealousy. When there's no more jealousy, there's no more war. There's no more competition. There's no more hatred. There's no more illness. There's no more death. There's just living your best life. And here you decide, well, what do I want to do with my life? Do I want to explore this wisdom? Do I want to explore that music? Do I want to explore that emotional exploration? Do I want to go into art? Do I want to go into nature? Now you can really live without worrying. If I take a hike, I might be killed on the hike by some hater. No. Do you follow what I'm saying? And I have to say, my daughter really liked my answer. She really liked my answer. How do you feel about it? You accept it?
I think you still can do it now.
Still can do.
If you without Moshiach, I can do exactly what you said, except that I have to be in the back of my mind watching out.
Right.
But I can still do it.
Yeah. I agree with you. Shabsi, I agree with you that you can do it right now. You can do it right now, which means that you are able to already live a Mashiach mindset right now. You don't have to wait for some cataclysmic event. You can actually make a choice to enter this mindset. And the way you do that is by studying Chassidus, by learning this stuff, opening your eyes from within. And when enough of us are doing this revolution from within, that's when we will experience a global tipping point. What were you about to say?
I'm a little confused. When Moshiach comes to talk about experiencing good things, are we talking about Jews or everybody?
Everybody.
Everybody.
Let me say one thing.
I don't
Let me say two things.
understand
First, I
that.
want to say Mashiach is not a personality per se. Mashiach is a state of consciousness. It's a state of being, which is led by a charismatic leader called the Mashiach. But it's not about the person; it's about the consciousness that he inspires us to. Right? Now, he inspires not only the Jewish people, but all of humanity to that consciousness. Right? In fact, the Jewish people have been struggling for thousands of years to be a light unto the nations. We've been trying to be a light unto ourselves and then ultimately a light unto the nations. The coming of the Mashiach is the culmination of that, when we have inspired not only ourselves, but also all the Gentiles around us. I saw a headline just the other day that yesterday, that scientists believe that by 2030 we could be living forever. Have you seen this research? Eliminating illnesses. I didn't really read the article, but I thought it was interesting.
I've seen where the life expectancy will be 150 years old.
Yeah.
Rob, you want to let these fools in?
Yeah. Anyways, I think I'm going to end it up over here. But any questions, folks? Any comments, questions? I'll deal with these guys.
The way things look today, Moshiach needs to work overtime.
Yeah, he would probably need to work over. Oh, ST's here. ST. Rob, can you call ST so she can deal with them? Thanks. ST, will you take care of them? Thanks. Okay, so I'm not going to have to end another ST, so I can carry on a few minutes. So any questions, folks? Do we have any questions about Moshiach?
Any questions?
I mean, yeah.
What's his first name?
What happens when, it reminds me of that, Who's Almighty. What if I decide that when Moshiach comes, what will make me happy is that the Giants win the Super Bowl? But then he loves the Philadelphia Eagles. So they're supposed to play the Eagles. So how does that work? What makes me happy is going to make someone else
I don't know if that's going to be the manifestation of Moshiach. Honestly, I don't think. I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what it's Shopsy. I think you're looking from a small mindset perspective. I'll tell you why. It's like this. Imagine, there's these two beggars. There's two beggars in Russia. They were talking about what life must be like to be a Rothschild. To be a Rothschild. Imagine being Rothschild. These guys didn't have bread to eat. They're like, imagine life as Rothschild. These people, they would have one pair of clothes. So Rothschild, he probably has, they said, one guy says the other, he probably has so much money that he could change his shirt every day.
Really?
Another guy says, he has much more money than that. He could probably change his shirt every hour. And the third guy says, he has much more money than that. He can change his shirt every minute. He's going on, off, on, off, on, off. When you're coming with the mindset of exile, with a mindset of limitation, you're like, it's like two 4-year-olds saying, when I'm going to be grown up, I'm going to get lots of Lego. Another guy says, no, I'm going to be grown up. I'm going to get a big tricycle. Right? Obviously, coming with the mindset of a childhood mentality. We also are coming in with a mentality of the exile that we're living in. So we're like, so right now I want the Giants or the Eagles to win. When Mashiach comes, then they're really going to win. What I'm thinking, Shapsi, is that when Mashiach comes, you'll have graduated from the Giants and the Eagles. You won't need, that won't be your challenge, your test. SEO, we okay? Positive? We'll be okay, thanks.
When Moshiach comes.
With the coming of Mashiach,
Moshiach is a state of mind, but that's not all.
with the coming of Mashiach, what's going to happen is your mind's going to open up. In other words, instead of you're going to wake up in the morning and saying, today I'm going to improve my golf swing. Why would you want to do that? You'd be like, today I want to open up my mind. Today I want to open up my heart. You won't need to sit on a couch eating, stuffing yourself with calories while you watch grown men run around the field chasing a ball. What are they doing? Running away from them?
The Giants did.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? And Reb Shabsi, I'm encouraging you to realize that our minds will be opened up to greater horizons, to broader horizons that we can't yet relate to right now. What? I don't know if there won't be any more sports, but I think the obsession with sports is born out of our obsession with sports is born out of an emptiness. Our obsession with sports is born out of a lack of higher purpose to the point, current higher purpose, to the point that we say, look, I have money, I have cars, and my most exciting part of my life is whether the Rangers win the game.
Actually, just this morning.
Power Rangers? Who's the Rangers? Power Rangers?
Rangers.
Point in case. What?
Just this morning's Wall Street Journal has a story about how Americans are profoundly lonely, and the digital age has been making things worse and worse. The loneliness. So we're glued to this, and we're lonely to start with, and we're kind of.
I saw yesterday that the average American spends 2.5 hours a day dream scrolling. You know what dream scrolling is?
Yeah.
Just blindly looking at their phones. 2.5 hours a day?
But it's got to be an age thing. Certainly not.
I didn't read the article. I just saw the headline because I don't want to dream scroll, so I wasn't reading the article. But
The point is to have a world that works well, the right state of mind.
so let me expand on that point and to also finish Chopsy's point without being overly offensive. I want to say, I guess, right now, what happens? How do you feel? No human being ever left a 2-hour Facebook session feeling better about themselves than when they entered the Facebook session, right? Nobody ever emerged from Facebook feeling great, feeling fulfilled. You always feel a little bit jealous, a little bit less worthy, like somebody else has got a better life, better lunch, better car, better trophy wife or something than you, right? And that's not our best life. It's really not our best life. And when you're watching other people play sports on the field, you don't feel as good as when you yourself maybe are playing the sport or doing the exercise, right? Because with the coming of Moshiach, we'll be fulfilling our potential. And that is what makes us happy. When we feel fulfilled, when we're expressing our potential. You have a brain in your head, you have a heart inside. And if your life is all about running on a field, you're not really expressive of your humanity. You're not fulfilling your humanity. It's only when we're able to be conscious of our talents, of our skill set, of what's in our toolbox, and use that toolbox that we're able to truly reach a sense of fulfillment and happiness.
If we're leading our lives the right way to bring about Moshiach, the Moshiach does come, it's not going to be as enlightening because we're already doing the right thing.
No. Again, you're coming in with a mindset of limitation. You're coming with the mindset of the beggars changing the shirts right now. With the coming of the Moshiach, you will have opened the door to your true potential. So for you to say now that that's going to be boring because I'm just going to be involved in my true potential, no, that's not.
No, I'm saying boring. I'm saying, if I'm reading the Torah every day and I'm living a good life and I'm enjoying my life and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do to bring Moshiach here.
And you're also watching football.
No, it stopped that.
Oh, you're not watching football?
I'm giving up the football.
Oh, yeah, we're big transformation.
That's a mistake. The Giants.
So he's saying, how's Moshiach going to make it better? He's already elevated.
So back to my original point. It's like saying life was good when I was in a dark room. Life was good when I was groping in the darkness. But when the lights are on, the lights will be on. So what's there? So what else will there be to do? Now you can actually start living without worrying about somebody shooting you in the back of the head, without worrying about anti-Semitism, where you're able to live a life of consciousness. Now you can actually start living. Until now, you've been living 5% of your being. With the coming of Moshiach, you'll be living 100% of your being. And we're so stuck in our mentality of exile that we can't even relate to a life of freedom. It's like a prisoner in jail says, in jail, I have, my bathroom and I have my routine, my schedule. But when I'm free, I'll be like, I don't know, just driving cars and stuff. That's boring. No, that's life.
Are you still going to need to have jobs?
I'm still going to need to have jobs? Probably. You probably will. Life will carry on as normal, yeah.
So carry on normal so people will struggle.
I don't think there'll be struggle, no. There'll be a sense of fulfillment. We won't work as jobs or work as callings.
You'll be working as what?
Callings.
So
It's like I've never worked a day in my
Who's
life.
gonna deliver the mail?
Like me, I've never worked a day in my life. I don't have a job. I have a
So
calling.
somebody's gonna have a calling as a garbage man?
And there's a mailman?
Or is it burger?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Burger flipper.
Well,
Doesn't
I
have
don't
to go to
I don't think it's anybody's call.
Anyways, lots to think about,
I don't
folks.
think there'll be any garbage.
I'm gonna end it over here, guys. Have a good day.